Chapter 10, post call and JSON creation. So in this chapter, we are going to see what is post call and how to invoke this, how to create a JSON object and a JSON array. So let me start this chapter. Post call helps to create a resource on the server side. We send a request body to the server to create a resource. So this is an example of a request body which is in the form of the JSON. So whenever we are sending this request body, this payload to the server, we also need to send the type of this particular request body. At this moment, this is a JSON. So whenever we are going to send this as a request body to the server, we are also going to send a content type, which is a application/JSON. So this is an example of a post call. So whenever we are going to send the post call, this is a postman. Whenever we are going to send the post call, we need to provide the body. We have the body, and we are also going to provide additional information. So if you talk about this gorest.co.in, we also need to send the information related to access token authentication. So this is the official website of a gorest.co.in. we are using a fake APIs of this, and when we scroll little down, we have this get your access token. So whenever you are going to invoke a post call of this gorest.co.in, we need to have a access token that we need to send it. So how are we going to generate it? Let's click on this get your access token, and here we have three examples of account: GitHub, Google, and a Microsoft. If you want to get the information, if you want to get the access token, you need to provide the account credentials. You need to log in with these accounts, and then you can get the access token. So I have already got the access token which is present inside this header. So we have the authorization, and we need to access this bearer and provide the access token. So we are also having the content type. So this is the content type application/JSON, and when we commit here inside this body, we need to provide a unique email address whenever we are going to create a resource on the server. So let's click on this send button, and it is going to invoke, and we can see we able to get the response as well. So this is the response which we are getting it. It has created a resource with the email address, and we are also getting a unique ID as well. So we are going to implement the same thing here in this particular Karate project. So this is the project which we have created in the previous sessions. We have the few feature files. So let's do one thing. Let's create a feature file. Right click, new. We have a Karate feature. We are saying a post request dot a feature, and inside this we can provide a feature file name. We can say test the functionality of a post call, and we are going to have this post call here as well. So now we are going to add a few steps. So let's commit here inside this get request.feature file. So we have all these steps. Let's copy this, and we can commit here and paste. So if you talk about this URL, so when we commit here, so we have a URL related to a post call as well. So let's go back. So this is a post call URL. So this is the resource, we need to add it. So copy this, and when we commit here, so this is the resource which we have already placed it inside this particular URL. Now instead of having a get call, we need to have a post call as well, and a status code is equal to 200. So whenever we are performing a post call, we need to add a request as well. So request is nothing but a body that we are going to give it. We need to provide the body as well. So if we commit here, so we need to provide this as a body. Let's do one thing right now. If we paste it here, then it does not make any sense, and it does not allow us to paste the contents, paste the JSON in a different lines. Let's have JSON to a single line, and we can go to here JSON format. Let's paste it, and if we say compact JSON, so this is a single line JSON. Let's copy, commit here inside this, and we can paste it as well. So this is a single line request which we have it. So here we have an email address. Let's change the email address. So we have provided a request. So after providing the request, we also need to add another thing, which is a header. So let's have this header. We are saying this time the header is content. We can have this content type. What is the value which we are going to save it? We are saying this is application/JSON, and another information, another header we want to add it. This time we are going to add a authorization to perform it related to is equal to what is the value which we are going to add it. We are going to add the information related to a header as well. So this header is having a one information related to a bearer as well as the token which we have copied it. Now if we go and invoke this, let's change the status because we are not getting a status is equal to 200. So let's commit here. We can see we are getting the status code is equal to 201. We are also getting the 201. So whenever we want to invoke the test cases, we need to commit here, change the feature file. Right now it is a post request.feature file. So right click and say run, and this will be invoking the post call with the help of this required information which we have added it. Post call executed successfully. So when we scroll it a little down, we have this karate summary.html, and when we commit here post request feature, so it is having the other information as well. So we can see we have this when post is equal to whatever the information which we have passed it, and the status is equal to 201. So in this way we can create a post call as well. If you see it here, we have provided the JSON in a single line. If you want to add this JSON in a multiple line in the framework in the karate, then we can also add it. So let's commit here. So instead of having this request which we have added it, we can get rid of this. Now we are going to add the request. So we are going to say triple code. Inside this triple quote we can add the information, we can add the JSON in a multiple line. So let's commit here. So if you talk about the multiple lines, we already have it. So let's copy, and we can add the information inside these triple quotes. So whenever you want to add the JSON in a multiple lines, then you need to start it with the triple quotes and then end it inside the triple quote, and inside these triple quotes you can add the JSON as well. So let's do one thing. Let's change email address to make it more unique, and you can also make a unique here as well. So let's have this. We can say it is a part 2. Previously it was a part 1. So let's go and invoke this, right click and say run, and it is going to run these two scenarios related to a post call. One is related to a single file, one successful, second also successful. Now we can see both the calls successful. So if you talk about in these two scenarios, we have used multiple lines. Another is we can also provide the JSON in a single line. In case if you want to generate your own JSON in these scenarios, that you can also do it. So let's do one thing. Let's copy this particular scenario, commit here and create a third scenario. This time it is going to be a, we can say a part third, and instead of having this request, what we are going to do is we are going to create our own request, own JSON inside this scenario. So whenever you want to create a JSON, first we can define the variable which is this request JSON is equal to. So whenever we are talking about a JSON object, so JSON objects always started from an opening curly brace and a closing curly brace. Here we can see this is an opening curly brace and this is a closing curly brace, and inside this opening and closing curly brace we are going to add a different fields like we have added it here. So this is a format which we are saying this request JSON is an object. Now we are going to start adding the values inside this JSON as well. So we are saying it is a request JSON and a request JSON. What is the field which you want to add it? So we are saying we are going to add it related to a ID. We have added, and if you talk about another field, you can add it in this way as well. So it is a name as well. So whenever you want to add the name, whenever you want to add a string, you need to add it inside a single or a double quotation mark. So what we did it here, so we have created a request JSON, a variable of a object type which is the JSON object, and whenever you want to add the information related to different fields, we are going to use a dot. ID is the value and the dot is name. So these all at the parent side, so that's why we are using a dot name dot email address as well. So let's have this email address. Now we can get rid of this. We don't need this. Let's get rid of this. A JSON, we are going to pass the variable name which is this a request JSON. So let's go and invoke this, and if we are going to invoke this, let's make this particular email address as a unique, and we can also, otherwise these test cases will be failed. Now we can run the test cases. So whenever we want to run the test cases, right click and say run, and it is going to invoke all these three test cases. Now we can see all these scenarios got it passed. So in this way we can also create a JSON inside these scenarios as well. So right now we have created a JSON object. If you want to create a JSON array within this particular JSON object, that you can also do it. So we are going to do it. Let's have this. We are saying a request a JSON dot, and we are going to say we are going to have the field as a address. So if you talk about a JSON array, so JSON array is going to start it with the open square bracket and end it with the closing square bracket. So we have added a array. So after adding the array inside, or you can say after adding a array as a field, then we are going to add it. We are going to say add the 0th index. We are going to have it another object, which is a JSON object. And then after having a JSON object, we are going to say, let's have it here as well. So add the 0th index. We are going to add the city as well. So let's have the city. We are saying city is Delhi. And if you talk about another information, we can also add another field. This time it is address field. At the 0th index dot, we are going to have the country, and the country we can give the India as well. So in this way we can add the information. Let's do one thing. Let's print this. Instead of sending a request, we can print it here as well to see what is the request which we have created. A request JSON. Now let's make it unique. These email address, otherwise these will be failed because it is accepting a unique email addresses. So right click and say run, then it is going to invoke this particular JSON, these scenarios. First scenario, then second scenario. In the third scenario we are going to get the information related to a request JSON. All the scenario got it passed. Let's scroll it down. So let's open this, and when we commit inside this post request, so let's scroll it little down, we have this print request JSON. We can see we have all the JSON which we have created it, as well as we have a new field which is this address field, and it is having a one object. It is of a array type, and it is having a one object with the two fields, which is a city and the country as well. So in this way, whenever you want to create any object, any JSON, you can create it here inside these scenarios as well. We have opening and a closing curly brace, and this is a opening and a closing square bracket. So this is going to represent an array, and this is going to represent an object. Inside this array we can have a multiple object as well. So that's why we have given a 0th index and object as well. So that's it in this session.